Okay guys, so those of you that have been joining me on the Scouts Facebook page for that Q&A, we've now switched over to our YouTube channel. We're going to do 10 or 15 minutes on some knots. This is why I've got this in front of me so I can tie some things. I've got some knots here. First of all, I'm going to have a quick slurp of tea. Oh, I think there's one thing I like more than knots, it's cups of tea. So here's the thing about knots. If you're going to be a good survivor, if you're going to be a good outdoorsman, a good adventurer, you do need to know how to tie knots. And I meet a ton of people who think of themselves as, they want to know how to be practical people. But they often say to me, but things I'm not very good. I can never tie knots. And I think it's one of these things, people don't teach, and we see less of teaching father to son, mother to daughter, the generational thing of not tying. Historically, if you didn't know knots, you were in a lot of trouble, galloping your horse across or whatever. You needed to know how to tie knots, and it's a skill that's got a little bit lost. But all good scouts need to know how to tie some knots. For me in my profession, where we're climbing all day and we're taking people on adventures, knots are key. I think I've got some of our team joining this session now as well, watching it. And we always laugh about the fact that, everybody in our team is pretty good at knots and loves doing knots. But what I would also say is this. As a team, we are not boffins, okay? We're not boffins. And there are a lot of not boffins out there. And what I mean by that is people who can tie incredibly fancy knots, and I cannot tie endless monkey fists and fancy knots. That's not what I'm about. It's not what our team is about. We are about simple, practical knots that can save your life or help somebody else. So these guys laughing. So this is not the place where you're going to learn the super complicated knots. This is the place you're going to learn the practical stuff. And I can feel my team watching this nodding as well, because this is what we're about. So, and also this isn't going to be a place where it's going to have very slow diagrams and showing you how to tie everything. If you want to learn these and you don't know anything, you're going to have to re-watch this and slow it down and freeze frame it a few times. But I'm going to show you 4, 5, 6 maybe are the ones that we use all the time and really help us, and what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so first of all, let's keep it simple. A reef knot for tying 2 bits of rope together, okay? So we've got 2 separate strands of rope. We want to tie them together. Super simple. We go right over left and tie it, and then we go left over right, okay? And what we end up with is something that looks like that. It's a very distinct shape of the reef knot, okay? Now this is a good knot because when you put it under tension and then you want to release it, it will release. But there's a downside to that, is if it gets jiggled a lot and it's quite slippy rope, it can come undone. So, reef knot, if we really wanted to secure it, and your life is depending on it, I would also put a hitch in the end. So I go like this. It's just simple overhand knot into the end. And I'll do the same on this side. And then the knot starts to look a bit more like this. So I'm making it a little bit bigger, so you can see you've got a reef knot and you've secured the ends. And then it's not going to go anywhere. But you can still release it. Okay, so it's a reef knot, but if your life's depending on it, you secure the reef knot with those 2 hitches. If you want to tie 2 bits of rope together, that you don't mind that if the knot goes under so much tension, it's never going to come undone. This is just about tying 2 bits of rope together to save somebody's life and haul them out of a chasm. The simplest knot you can do is just get the 2 ends and just a simple 1 overhand knot. Literally like that. People look at that and you think, oh, that's never going to hold. But that, when it gets split like this, is incredibly strong. Okay? In fact, it's so strong when you put it under a lot of tension like this, you'll never undo it again. Okay? And really simple. And again, a lot of these things, the reason I say it's so important to have simple knots is a lot of these knots you have to do in a crisis. When it's pouring a rain and that river level is rising, you've got to be able to do it, grab it, do that, bosh, know that is not going to come undone, it's going to save someone's life. Okay? So you've got the reef knot and you've got the overhand knot. The overhand knot won't come undone after having been put under tension. Okay? Third one. We're going for a clove hitch. Clove hitch is something, probably the knot that we use the most. Okay, it's for securing a bit of rope to a post, to a belay, to a carabiner, to a branch around a tree. And it's super simple. We go over, can you see me? Can you see if I'm leaning like this? Yeah? We go over, we cross it, and we go under itself. Okay? So it looks like that. It's a very distinct shape again, though. So we'll do that once more. So we go over, cross itself, and then under, and we pull it tight. The great thing about a clove hitch, you can adjust the length of it. That's why this is so good. But again, here's the thing. If you've got a slippery rope and it's wet and it's got a slippery anchor point, that can come undone. Look, it's even moving a little bit on this slippy bar. If you want to secure it, two things. Either you just do another hitch on it, like that, or you can tie it off with 2 overhand knots. And then it's definitely not going to come undone. And doing it with 2 overhand knots like that, it becomes like a round turn and 2 half hitches. You're just securing it, first of all, with a clove hitch. But you'll figure that out. Okay, so clove hitch. The other good thing about a clove hitch, you're coming along in a boat and you want to secure off to a stake. There are different ways of doing the clove hitch. Rather than doing that over and under itself, you can just get it and go like that. 1, 2, and bosh, it's secured. Okay, so that's what it's looking like. Do that for you again. So you're getting it. You're doing 1 loop, and then you pick not the end of the rope, but the main bit of the rope, you do another loop, and it's tied. Again, I use that a ton boating. Really quick, come up, I don't even have to learn, do that, do it, and I know it's secure. Okay, clove hitch. If you're putting a clove hitch or a carabiner, the way to do it, 1 loop, 2 loop, and slide the top one, the left-hand one over the top, and you've got a clove hitch like that. Okay. If we want to get more complicated, for those of you that know these, obviously you've got then the Italian hitch where you create a loop, but this time you close it on itself over that belay point and you can lower somebody off a cliff like that. It's like an improvised way of belaying somebody down or up something, the Italian hitch. As those of you into knots know, though, Italian hitch will coil the bottom of the rope a lot, so watch out for that. Okay, so we've got the reef knot, we've got the overhand knot, we've got the clove hitch, we've got the Italian hitch. What about a stopper version of a hitch? This is a good one. Sometimes you get a slippy rope, but you really need to secure something. This time you go over the top, you go across, but instead of going straight back under, you come over the knot and then under it. And it like traps itself on it. And that is absolutely, it goes really tight under pressure. That good little trick one to know. And then the final knot we're going to do is the bowline. Okay, now this is for putting around your waist if you're being lifted up somewhere maybe, or tying around a tree. And it's a key knot to know. There's so many uses of a bowline. And again, here we go. This is a classic one that you might have heard of, where you get it round, you create a loop like that. What's very important is you make sure you create the loop the right way. So always creating it like that rather than that way. If you do it that way, it won't work. Okay, so you're always creating the loop that way. This is one of the reasons bowlines are often discouraged to be used if your life is on the line, because under pressure you can tie it the wrong way and it won't tie. But here we go, we create a loop and then we treat this end round us, treat it like the rabbit comes out the hole, round the back of the tree and back down the hole. That pulls tight and it looks like that, okay? And then we'd be lifted up. The problem with a bowline though, if you pull it at a different angle, so we take it off here. So that's a natural way for a bowline to go, like that, pulling like that. If you start pulling it this way though, it can come undone. And again, if it's a very slippery rope, it can come undone. The way to secure a bowline, if that's what you're going to tie and your life is going to be on the line, just tie the end like we did with the reef knot, secure the end. So again, look, we're making a loop, rabbit's coming out the hole, it's going around the tree and it's going back down the hole. We're pulling it tight. If my life is on the line, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to do a couple of 1 or 2 hitches around this, just so that loose end cannot come undone. So there's an exaggerated version of it, you see it, so you see it. So you're just securing that end so it can't go back on itself. Okay? Bowline, we have to say when we do the bowline, it's possible to do a bowline with one hand. This one is dedicated to my good friend Pete Hazel, who is the master of the one-handed bowline and who taught me this. And actually being able to do it with one hand is often in a survival situation incredibly useful. This one might take people a little bit of practice. You're grabbing the end, you're going over the top first, under, round, and then down, like that, okay? Pete can do it blindfolded, it's super fast, but that is the premise of that. So look again, it's going over, through the gap, round, and then down, okay? The one-handed bowline, dedicated to Pete Hazel. Final knot, the figure of 8. Okay, again, if you're being winched up and you're nervous using a bowline and your life depends on it, you want to make a loop. A really simple way is you just create the end of the loop like that. You measure it to whatever size you want, so you've got a big loop, and you do a figure of 8. So you grab this big bit, you go over and under and back down the hole. It creates a figure of 8 like that, and then you've got a loop. And the great thing about this loop is you can, before you tighten it, you can adjust it pretty easily. You can make it a really small loop like this, and then you could use that for like a handhold on it. You can make a whole lot of loops like that. It could be a handhold on a ladder, improvised ladder, or if you make a really big loop, it can then be used to get a person out of trouble. So if we make a bigger one like this, all I got to do then is put that over, and we're good to go. And we can shuffle out a bit and tighten it up, and we're good to go. So there you go. A bunch of knots. There's been the rapid version of it, but I think ultimately here's another good tip. If you don't know knots, do lots. There's some people, okay, who they get in that moment and they're trying to secure their shelter, and they just, you know, they're so tired and they haven't drunk any water and they're hungry. And if you're in doubt, it doesn't have to look pretty. Just do masses and masses, especially of those simple overhand knots, you know. And ultimately, if you do a simple overhand knot, I'm trying to tie this to this. I can't remember it. If I just keep going round and round, and then I keep tying it on itself, and I keep tying it on itself, it's basically going to work. So it's the principle of, if you don't know knots, tie lots. But really, if you can, you want to practice these simple knots, and then when you are tired, you are hungry, and you are adrenalized, you're not thinking straight, you can just do them. And like my friend Pete, he can tie that one-handed bowline without thinking. You know, like me coming alongside with this clove hitch, I know I can do it in my sleep. I know that's going to hold, you know, and that's called muscle memory. And you never know when it just might save your life. So there we go, guys. The last thing just to say, if you haven't already watched our documentary on being Chief Scout and why scouting is such an inspiration to me, we've just uploaded it on our YouTube channel. So check that out. But I just want to say thanks for joining me. Love the community we're building here. And we'll do some more knot tying in due course. Take care, guys. God bless.